let's see what else we got cooking. Did you want to mention AMA getting their CBO?
I think people are wondering about it. They've heard that maybe the AMA has become the first CBO, and they're wondering where we are at with our application.
Yeah, have not heard a word.
Did you check your
And
spam folder, Dave?
I did, I did, I honestly did. Checked. I did check my spam folder, junk
Uh,
mail. I did, um, just in case. But yeah, the we submitted. We were number two. AMA was number one, and they have probably 10 or 11 documents that span their safety guidelines. So it's uh, pretty extensive. The various the amount of guidelines that they have signed up and committed their members and their member chartered clubs to put in place and to police. So that's got us a bit disturbed reading the advisory circular 91-57C.
and
Yeah,
people are saying,
there's
"Oh, say so we're next, right?" Well, we have no idea. I would just assume
Yeah.
the FAA has a small team of people working on this, and it sort of probably
Mhm.
depends who's assigned to each CBO's application and how many guidelines they have to look at and who they have to consult with and lots of
That would
things.
that would be my bet as well.
what stands out in their guidelines, in the AMAs or in
And
the
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 AMA
FAA.
guidelines, one of the five separate documents on FPV. It also that they have signed up for uh, that you have to have lights, visibility lights to fly at night. Can be seen for 3 statute miles. So a number of the elements that the AC 51, 57C put forward, which were really making recreational a mini Part 107, are absolutely in the AMA safety guidelines,
And
and
I'm sure
that's
your tiny
just
whoop
disturbing.
or a little toothpick will love to have a 3 nautical mile LED flashing on it and fly great when you put
Mm-hmm.
that on there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the important part about that, guys, is that the regulations for recreational state nothing of requiring any kind of lights on recreational aircraft. That is strictly a Part 107 regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that in order to become a CBO, that we're basically being asked by the FAA to regulate via advisory circular is gross and obtuse. So it's a little bit ridiculous. There's a lot of stuff in there that we're just like not so
So
sure about this.
yeah, when we get our response, I anticipate that our response will not be a way to go if PVFC, you're in. I anticipate the response, at least one pass will be, to add a little more material to this safety guidelines, and we'll take it apart and see what's reasonable and what's not reasonable, and we'll try to have a common sense approach to it. I've needed
Yeah,
to walk away from this for about a day because I was pretty incensed with uh, some of what's going on.
you're not the only one.
Free it operates like 107 seems now. Yeah, yeah,
Is there a
yeah.
term
Well,
for like what you call? I don't know if there's actually a term. It feels like there should be for like roundabout legislation, where like where they're basically like asking us to make rules that they don't want to make. Like I feel
yeah,
like there's got to be like a term for that.
yeah. The
Overreach?
end, the end, the end
Well,
run. Yeah,
yeah,
The
and
end
end run.
run.
There you
yeah,
go. That's a good way to put it.
yeah.
'Cause
And
that's what it
To
feels
join.
like. Is
Yeah,
like, hey, we don't want to make we don't want to do this stuff. So instead, we're going to like suggest very heavily over and over again through documents and suggestions that you should make sure that you do these
right,
rules.
So like
You know?
right.
mafia
And the part of
tactics,
it's yeah, it's
protection money.
the
Yeah.
part of the rules. Yeah, the part of the rule that really incenses me is they are pressing on the CBO being responsible for enforcement. And so not only are they looking for an extension of 44809, the recreational exception to Part 107, but they're also asking us, so it's not just make up additional rules off the cuff. they're looking for the CBO to be responsible for enforcement as
Well,
well.
it starts to make sense
Um,
if you think about it as a CBO is an organization that runs a FRIA. Everybody flies their drones and aircraft at this FRIA with the guidance of employees of the CBO. So if there's an accident there, there's an employee of the CBO there that you report it to and all that kind of stuff. Like, right?
But how
It's
does
not at all like what we imagine a CBO as. We've got people all spread out through the country flying in their backyards.
Mhm.
hmm,
Right.
I
It's
mean,
there's
also
and
not
what?
how FRIAs were written up or presented either, and it's
Mm.
like, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of problems there, right? Because it's two different
Yes.
sides of, like, the way, like, you can't have, I don't know. Hey, you've got one side saying this, and then the other side doesn't present that as being the requirement at all. So, I don't know. It's difficult.
Well, and the
Yeah.
difference is generational too. So, I mean, you've got the AMA, and their idea of a CBO is exactly what Dan stated, right? It's, a bunch of people at a field, but the new generation of CBO is kind of like remote work, right? It's everybody everywhere. And so, we're a group of people that fly everywhere and not just in a field. So
Yeah.
it
And
doesn't
and
work the
the
same way.
and the issue is that we're about close on to 10 times the size of the AMA population. So this is so for a set of old white guys that are flying at fixed flying fields that are 1/10 the size of recreational UAS. It can work, but even the enforcement part is really tricky. I mean, that's not doable. And I'm an AMA member. I fly at 3 different clubs. Enforcement not possible.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Not
yeah,
unless unless it's
unless the
an
FAA pays me to enforce.
egregious, unless it's egregious, flying your,
right.
intentionally flying your, model
But
airplane, into someone's car.
right. But
I'm
I
sure
mean,
that's
that's the
happened before.
I've no accidentally. It's happened at races,
well,
not
I
with
mean,
my
that's the
car.
thing though. Is like,
But
I
that's what
mean,
insurance is for.
here's the end all be all, right? Is that, we can FPV has always been relatively self-policing, right? Don't do stupid stuff, don't hurt people, that kind of thing. And
Right.
because we don't
When we're on the
want
pits, you get a hammer.
we don't want things that happen to damage the reputation and cause more regulation. And I mean, that's the great fear, right? So, we've always been relatively self-policing, and people, I will attest for 99.9% of all the population of flyers out there and operators is that we don't do stupid stuff. We may do some cool stuff or some relatively risky stuff, but at the same time, nobody's out there seeking to hurt people or property. It's just, looking for that shot. It's like skateboarding, right? We're not, people aren't I'm not a skateboarder, but people aren't out there really trying to damage things or hurt people. They're just trying to, enjoy life and have fun. Anywho,
Dan, I think you're on a good point. And I started this, and I try to be generally positive. Struggling with the CBO situation. We hope to be a CBO. We will give it a college try, and we'll help anyone else submitting applications for a CBO in as much as we have a very good understanding of the regulations, not just 44809, but Part 107 as well.
and here's the important part about this, guys, is the AMA has how many documents did you say, Dave? 12?
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Okay, so anybody who's listening, what are the chances that you're going to remember 12 pages worth of rules?
Safety
Oh yeah,
So,
guidelines.
it's about it's
yeah.
yeah 12
Barely
documents.
remember the 8 bullet points from the 44809.
All right.
All right.
That's all you're going to remember. And here's the thing is, we want to make it as easy as possible to say, here's the FPVFC's rule set. Go out, have fun, enjoy yourself. And
Yeah,
and and
and we want to reflect 44809. This is what the statute
Mhm.
is. This is
Exactly.
some common sense additions, and outside of guidelines, additional common sense things that can help. Battery knowledge, tips on flying in the cold, propeller safety, do not have to be part of pre-flight and post-flight
So are we saying
guidelines. If you don't follow, you're ejected.
we're predicting some headbutting between us and the FAA on the CBO and the safety guidelines?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, if I'm involved in it, yes.
Yes. I do anticipate that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we could go two different ways. We could try to do what the AMA did, give them exactly what they want, a million safety guidelines, so we can make some FRIAs. Or we can try to headbutt the FAA and say, no, really, there's no point in these lights for flying at night under these circumstances. We want simpler rules. We want this, this, and this, and we either might not become a CBO or it may take a year.
Right.
Well, I would rather it take some time and make sure it works for the community than anything else. And so, I mean, that's where my head's at. And obviously, I'm just talking off the cuff. We've not discussed this beforehand. But go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say the one other thing that is dependent on time though is currently the AMA has a monopoly on being a CBO.
Correct.
Yes,
which means that now everyone at this time has to follow the AMA guidelines if they're flying recreationally, since they have to follow a CBO set of guidelines. So all recreational flights at this moment have to be under AMA for the time being.
So technically that started today.
Yes, as soon as they got their approval.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Alex. We are on a time crunch, but again, at the same time, we want to make sure it's right for the community.
So what really happened was lots and lots more people are flying against the rules or not in accordance with the current regulations. Way more mass non-compliance starting today.
Okay.
So to Meat's point, where it says, I think fighting to keep the rules minimal and sensible is more important than making FRIAs right away. Certainly from our position, in as much as FRIAs are not required tomorrow afternoon, that's a sensible view. And as Josh said, we've not had an opportunity to huddle as a team on this and hash it out. But I think that's the sense of it, is that we want to try to achieve a result that is not simply, oh, let's just write up a book and then everyone will be happy and it'll be incomprehensible and no one will follow it. That's not where we want to have this end up.
Yeah.